Speed Channel welcomes you to Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte for final practice for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series before tomorrow night's UAW GM Quality 500.
Oh, wait a minute. Alan, welcome back.
It's good to be here.
It's great to see you. The leg is okay?
It's sitting up here on this stool in front of me, not barking too loud. So
okay,
we're doing good. I appreciate it. I was just going to talk about how we got 6 races to go in this chase for the Nextel Cup.
Yes.
Racetrack very temperature sensitive, very finicky, and these drivers and teams have one practice under conditions as close as they're going to get to race time to figure it all out.
For these next 45 minutes really are critical to try to get these cars set up properly.
Let's check right down in the garage. Here's Dave.
And the leader of the chase for the Nextel Cup, Kurt Busch, registered a 4th place fastest lap out there. Kurt, what did you learn about your car in the session just completed?
Everybody's car seems to be loose, all of our teammates, and just the general consensus up and down the garage. So we've got to tighten it up. But right now the track is so cold, and it just seems like it's losing grip. That's what happened to us last night in qualifying. We thought that we were going to gain a lot of grip when the temperatures went down. It just seems to be going the opposite way right now. So hopefully we'll have a long run this session to see what our tires do and to see what the track temp comes up to. Because right now it's ice cold and it's very slick.
And it's going to be very close to race conditions in this next session, right?
Yeah, they usually give us daytime practices for a nighttime race here. So I hope he's helped us out, and hopefully we get our Irwin Industrial Tools Ford dialed in.
All right, Kurt's about ready to step in to his number 97. Marty?
Yeah, Dave, much cooler in this session than it was in the first session. So, Rusty Wallace, does that mean this practice is more important than the first one today?
Yeah, it's definitely more important. It's cooler right now. The track's as cold as it's been since I've been here. So this is the all for the money right here. We got to make sure it's handling right now. And the car really ran great and handled good the end of the first session. I haven't made a change once, so we'll go out and see what happens.
Rusty made no changes between the first practice and this practice, and the two cars very happy with it. Alan?
All right, Marty, thanks. Alan Bestwick, Benny Parsons.
There he is, live and in color.
In the flesh.
Yeah,
glad to be here. Very glad to be here. Believe me, it's much more fun to be here than to be sitting home resting that on the couch. I got enough metal in me to keep the airport people happy for a long while, but that's a story for another time.
Yes.
We talk about a temperature-sensitive track, and people say, what does that mean?
This racetrack, in the morning you can run very, very fast. Noontime comes, you break for lunch, that 1 hour you're down. At 1 o'clock you go back on the racetrack. It's an entirely different racetrack. But right now it's very close to the way they're going to run tomorrow night. So I don't know that the temperature-sensitive thing will work as much as it does practicing in the day and then racing at night. So right now these guys might be, as Kurt Busch said, they might be getting a break in the fact that they're practicing very close to race conditions.
This racetrack, it just seems to change the handling, the way the car grips to the racetrack when the temperature goes up and down the scale. So good break for the teams. Cool conditions here in Charlotte right now. Jeff Gordon, some of the other drivers getting ready to go in Nextel Cup final practice. Cars on the track next. Right after our coverage of final practice, it's trackside here at Charlotte. Stay tuned, they'll be live on stage. Drivers dropping by, talking about what to expect in tomorrow night's race. Trackside live on Speed Channel, coming up next. Cars will be rolling out onto the track in just a minute. Let's head to the garage. Marty?
Well, let's talk to one of the masters of this racetrack, Bobby Labonte, who is normally very good here, but you're just telling me about your car in the first practice. How was it?
Well, we fought a couple different things, and actually several different things. And I think we got a little bit better towards the end. We never put a set of tires on it after we made some changes on it, so we just kept running on old tires. And here I think that's good to get your car feeling pretty good. So I think I'll know more here in a minute.
If it was the Coca-Cola 595, you would have had a top 5 here in May. You got wrecked with just a few laps to go.
Yeah, we've had good runs here before, and we could, hopefully we could use a good top 10 run here. Tomorrow night. We haven't had a top 10. I read about 13 races, so
it'd be nice to have one.
Yeah, you break that lucky 13 deal and you get in the top 10.
Well, in 5 of his last 11 Lowe's Motor Speedway races, Bobby's finished first or second. That's a pretty good record, Dave.
Casey Kane qualified for his second Charlotte race. He will start on the outside of row 1, getting ready to put his Hans device on there. Casey, how was your car in that last session?
It was pretty decent. We need to be a lot better to have a shot tomorrow night, but it was pretty good. We just made a lot of changes. Hopefully it'll be better, and the front end will be a little more positive.
Okay, he's getting ready to back out right now, guys.
All right, Casey Kane going to start on the outside of row number 1 in tomorrow night's 500 mile. Like that paint job on the car?
I do. It's very, very nice. I like
barbed wire thing going there. Cars on the track next on Speed Channel. We're coming right back. The guys who cover this sport and write the newspaper articles aren't generally shy with opinions, and Speed Channel rounds them up and puts them on Pitbull, Saturday at 6:30 Eastern Time.
Man, do they have opinions.
Yes, they do. Hear all about it Saturday night here on Speed.
So what are they waiting for now?
Got a stray golf cart out on the racetrack that they are getting cleared.
Oh, okay.
Trying to figure out who exactly that belongs to.
Because I want to hear some noise. I know you missed it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to hear some noise.
See Elliott Sadler. So many teams with the different paint jobs here this weekend.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Elliott Sadler with a different one. You saw the 29 car of Kevin Harvick behind that. And first practice, Martin was quick. We got to go back to Harvick in 6th spot for the first Chevrolet.
Now Dave Blaney practicing the car that Carl Edwards will drive in Saturday night's race. Of course, Carl down in Texas practicing and qualifying his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series machine. And a lot of guys that are practicing their Nextel Cup machines now are going to have a little bit more work to do later on tonight.
Yes, 300 miles for the NASCAR Busch Series, and a lot of drivers double dipping.
Jamie McMurray will be one of the drivers who will be in that race later tonight, and also in another car for this practice.
The 42 car, McMurray, comes off turn 4, and someone had dropped some fluid in front of him, I'm told. The right front tire hit that fluid, and straight to the wall it went. And you see the damage. He definitely had to go to a backup car.
And cars on the racetrack here at Charlotte. Marty's got the Jamie McMurray situation under control, huh?
I just talked to him, Alan, and he said, number one, he's fine. Didn't hurt anything in the wreck. Worst part about it, it wrecked his favorite race car. This backup car has been a backup all year long. They tested it in Las Vegas back in January, and it's not run on the racetrack since then. It's been in the trailer for most of the year, so they're very interested to see how these first few laps go in this backup car for Jamie McMurray.
Well, at least he's got a practice session to get some shakedown laps. That didn't happen in the second session. Well, what a lap last night.
Wow. Unbelievable. Ryan Newman in this 12 car broke the track record last night in qualifying to earn pole position. But sometimes even the fastest guys get past us. Looked like Harvick was going to go by him in the 29 car.
Ryan Newman with an average speed around this mile-and-a-half track at better than 188 miles an hour. Unbelievable.
It was. So Newman saw that the 29 car seemed to be a little faster, so he just wisely backed off, let him go, because now they're not racing. They're just trying to feel their cars out and see what changes they might be able to make to these cars that make them adhere to the racetrack. Grip in the corners better than they are now.
So Ryan Newman 232 points down in the chase for the Nextel Cup, and having already had 2 finishes in the 30s since this 10-race stretch started, he can't afford any more problems. He needs to get up front and knock off some top 5 finishes in these final 6 races.
This guy has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
The 97 car of Kurt Busch is the leader in the points in the NASCAR, the chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup, and he has been just terrific every race since Richmond. Won the first one, and I guess has had a top 5 every race.
Well, let's see. 1 New Hampshire, 5th in Dover, 5th at Talladega, finished a disappointing 6th at Kansas last week. Yep.
That's right, 6th.
Kurt will join BP and I later on tonight on TNT to call the NASCAR Busch Series race here in Charlotte. Waller's going to run in that one. Kurt's going to start tomorrow night's race from the 21st position, Dave.
The 97 team right now, Alan, what they're planning to do during this, at least the beginning of this session, they're going to do 2 15-lap runs. They're just trying to simulate the beginning and the middle of the race runs for Kurt. They'll be starting 21st, of course, in the middle of the pack. So, you know, they want to make sure that they can get those 15-lap sessions, at least the first part of them, get them some spots at the beginning of the race.
Benny, you've been in a position of racing for a championship before. It's such a different approach for somebody like Kurt, who's leading the thing, to some of these guys like Ryan Newman or even Tony Stewart that have had a problem and have some points they have to make up.
Yeah, all they can hope for right now, really truly, is that Kurt Busch, the 97 car, have some kind of problem and have a bad finish, because if he doesn't, if he keeps knocking down those top 5s, no one is going to catch him.
Tony Stewart, defending winner of this race, going to start 15th on Saturday night. Led 149 laps on the way to victory lane last year. Where was Tony in that first practice?
He was, let's see, he was 17th. Marty, what's going on in the garage?
Well, Ryan Newman came back after just a few laps. They're going to check out the engine here, BP. Came on, so there's a faint a miss, a missing of power, he said. Not quite a miss itself, but just something not right. He said wasn't right with the engine that he did not feel in the first practice session, so they're going to check that over, and Ryan said all the gauges look fine. Bolts were at 12.5, so it's not an electrical issue, they think. They're going to try and figure out what the issue is, though, with the 12th car.
That would not be good.
That would definitely not be good, but now is definitely the time that you have to. That's why they're practicing, to see if they have any problems and fix them. Most of the practice is done to try to fix handling problems, but obviously other problems they do encounter as well.
You better to have to change the engine now and start in the back of the pack in Saturday night's race than on lap 5 of Saturday night have it go boom.
Because then you can change it all you want. It doesn't really matter.
Dale Jr. out there running with Robbie Gordon. Jr. going to start 25th on Saturday night.
Going down in turn 3, and about right here is where all these teams are struggling. Almost every crash we've had this week in practice and qualifying has been down between turns 3 and 4.
Over the bumps. Boom. Right there into turn 1.
And this corner is fairly smooth. As racetracks go, this is about as smooth as any, but down in 3 and 4, it's not smooth. As a matter of fact, it was so rough down there, they put a patch in, and some of the drivers say the patch. About right there, we just went over the patch, so a little bit of discoloration. Roger Neal, one of the guys that general managers here at the track, has told me that there are plans to repave this racetrack next year, and the drivers saying no, because it's going to take its character away. They're afraid, and it's going to make it blindingly fast.
Part of what makes good racing is when cars don't handle well.
Yeah.
Guys sliding up the racetrack and creates opportunities to pass, and when you have too much grip in the pavement, you can get to where you have some single file racing. They're going so fast, they're going too fast to pass.
Oh, new paint job for Casey Mears.
Yeah, no more pink this week. Dave?
Alan, he qualified 3rd for Saturday night's race. What they're going to do right now is work on shock and spring combinations, looking for more grip, hoping that also these night conditions that they're getting into now will help give Casey more grip. That was what he was complaining about mostly in the last session.
So he's identified with SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Your kids are a little old for
My
that, right?
granddaughter, she's into that.
Oh, yeah? There you go. So Casey Mears headed back in. As Dave said, starts 3rd tomorrow night. Here's Mark Martin in the 6 and Casey Kane in the 9.
Now these two cars, the 6 in the first session was the fastest car, and the 9 was 2nd.
Mark obviously either wanted some free racetrack or he's headed back to the garage. Sounds like he's headed in.
Yeah, it looks that way. So far, Mark is looking for him on the board.
Joe Nemechek. Oh, what a finish last Sunday.
Oh, man, wasn't that something?
Yeah, it was just great. I talked to Joe yesterday, and he was so excited for his race team. He said these guys have worked so hard, and we just haven't been able to get the results to have the payoff for all their hard work. Well, you got it at Kansas, Joe.
That's coming down the finish line. Checker flag for the 0-1 car, and Ryan Pemberton, the crew chief, yes! He forgot all about having a bad back. You notice that?
So Nemechek with his first win of 2004 last Sunday at Kansas. The weekend sweep, his NASCAR Busch Series team took a very close victory on Saturday afternoon there as well. And Nemechek in this practice showing 4th fastest. He will take the green flag from row 4 on Saturday night with the 8th quickest qualifying lap. There's somebody who's going to come from a long way back tomorrow night. Dale Jarrett will start 39th. Former Charlotte winners kind of had a struggle through qualifying, looking for some speed in Nextel Cup Series final practice. Talked about the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race in Texas a minute ago. Speed Channel, of course, with live coverage. Presented by General Motors, Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern Time.
The points leader, Kurt Busch, just hit the wall off turn 4.
Yeah, look at the way that right front tire is hanging outside of the fender.
Yes.
Following his brother Kyle for several laps in practice, and watch this.
Comes off the corner, and guess what? The wall just...
Ooh.
And he didn't just touch it, he hit it. This might mean a backup car and starting at the rear.
Spend hours and hours and hours in the wind tunnel fixing those fenders. They came over here and tested for a couple of days, and just that one little bump probably messed it all up. Jimmy Fennig nervously pacing to see what the damage to his car looks like. The crew chief. Oh, I don't know. Let him go to work and then find out what they have to say after a little bit.
You see him jump on the car right away to see if the rear trailing arms are bent.
So troubles for championship leader Kurt Busch in final practice. I won't call it happy hour because it's not happy at all for him.
No, it isn't.
Get out all their alignment plates you see there. Check the alignment of the front end and the back tires. And
now the first guy checked the air pressure in the tire. This guy is checking the temperature of the tire.
See up front, they're running the plates across between the front tires and the tape measures between them, and they're checking the alignment of the front wheels and making sure that the toe in and so on, whether it was moved or not in any significant manner. And like I said, we'll let him go to work and assess the damage, and we'll get a follow-up report from down there in a minute. So Kurt Busch with some troubles here in practice. Jeremy Mayfield has had some troubles in a couple of the chase for the Nextel Cup races. He's got 2 finishes in the 30s in the 4 races that have been run.
And, you know, there is such a thing as bad luck in racing.
Yeah.
And both of his DNFs or troubles that he's had were not of his own making. Just happened to be at the right place at the absolute wrong time.
Jeremy going to start in 13th position on Saturday night. Talking about how Jeremy Mayfield got to the point he is in the chase for the Nextel Cup. This was New Hampshire, lap 65. Wrong place, wrong time when Robbie Gordon issued a payback to Greg Biffle. Then in Talladega.
43 car got tagged by Hermie Sadler and just turned right and right directly in front of Jeremy Mayfield.
So Jeremy Mayfield's 4 finishes in the races in the chase for the Nextel Cup are 35th, 7th, 38th, 5th.
Uh-oh.
And well,
this is the bad news.
Yeah, but here's a group of guys, Benny, that have to be sitting there thinking, you know, if those 2 problems really not of our making hadn't happened, where might we be?
Right there in the thick of things.
Because in the other 2 races, they've gotten great finishes. Instead, Mayfield finds himself 257 points behind Kurt Busch coming into Saturday night's race with 6 to go. Elliott Sadler looks awfully happy.
So far showing to be the fastest car in this practice session, and he and the crew chief there with the black sweater, Todd Parrott, the engineer Kevin Collins, they seem to be happy. They're high-fiving.
This is you know, it's a conversation we don't want to bust up, but a lot of confident people looking right here right now. Driver, you said that car was fun to drive.
It was. It's fun. It's by far the best car I've ever had here in Charlotte, and we got a good chance on tomorrow night. I mean, the track conditions about the same, and we got a good plug check, a good reading on the tires, and I'm happy with it. I can't think of anything I wanted to change, so the crew chief told me to park it, so that's what we're going to do. See what happens.
Crew chief, what magic dust did you sprinkle on this thing?
Yeah, just these guys worked really hard. You know, so a brand new car. Brought it over here last night, and first time it's been on the track. Put 1 pound of air in all 4 tires from the time we unloaded to qualifying, and just really happy. We've learned a lot, doing a great job, loves this place, and maybe we'll get one tomorrow night for our local fans.
That's called preparation, right?
I don't want him to tell y'all what we did. I see.
I'm going to follow him. I'll follow him wherever they go. I'll follow him.
So Elliott was doing a football coach thing there, right? Holding the hand in front of the mouth. No lip reading allowed by his competitors. Here is Jimmy Johnson, who dominated the Coca-Cola 600 here in May. Marty, is he in similar dominating fashion in the happy hour?
Not quite, Alan. I just talked to Chad Knaus. He said, you know, we're getting closer to where we were in May, but we're not there yet. They led over 300 laps in that race going on to win. This is the same car, though. Chad said you kind of have to manhandle this racetrack because of the bumps on the backstretch BP talked about, and in 3 and 4, so it's very shock intensive. They're working on some of that, trying to get that a little bit better. They're close, but not quite where they were in May.
Down the backstretch, you can just see those tires working up and down inside the fender wells. On board with Jimmy Johnson, And you can see how smooth it is here because the tires are just staying in a constant position. But watch this car as it goes down the back. Coming off the corner, no problem. Okay, now, watch those front and rear tires when they hit those bumps.
It's slamming around inside the car pretty good.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But the backstretch at this track has always been bumpy. Always.
Jimmy Johnson, winner of 2 of the last 3 races here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, out making some practice laps, showing 3rd quickest so far. Well, if you like classic cars of all varieties, the Goodwood Festival of Speed is quite an assemblage. And you can see it Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time, here on Speed. Is it the Lord March? It's Castle, and they bring all the vintage cars out and run it on the course up on his property. And
from all over the world, those cars come.
It's unbelievable. Old Formula One cars and classic Ferraris and Lamborghinis and you name it. Goodwood Festival of Speed, Wednesday night here on Speed. A little different looking car for Sterling Marlin this weekend as he's out in final practice. Former winner here at Charlotte. Meantime, how's our championship leader's car assessment going, Dave?
Alan, the car remains in the garage. Crew Chief Jimmy Fennig has been all over this thing, underneath, around the side, underneath the front fenders, like a 20-year-old. He's a little older than that now. He is just trying to find out what's wrong with this thing. I slipped in for a quick word. Jimmy said, we don't know if it's bent yet. We know it's cosmetic, obviously, but we haven't figured out if it's bent yet. The last thing I saw the crew checking were the axles in the rear end. Those appear to be okay. And again, they continue to try to make sure everything is straight as far as the car is concerned. Marty?
Meanwhile, his teammate Mark Martin may only be 15th on the speed chart, but he's very happy with the race car. It's just a little bit loose. The one car he keeps talking about, Casey Kane, he wants to know how he's running compared to the 9. They have stayed on old tires here this whole time for the 6 car, just checking the timing, and they're going to send Mark Martin back out on the track with a really good race car.
Well, Marty, looking at our computer in the booth, the 9 car is 3/100ths of a second faster than the 6 car. Casey Kane is 14th fastest and Mark Martin 15th in this practice session.
Of course, while Mark is trying to pursue the championship in 2004, he announced yesterday that 2005 would be his final full season of competition in the Nextel Cup Series. He's going to call it the Salute to You Tour. And Benny, there's some real genuine emotion during that press announcement between Mark and Jack Roush.
We have seen more emotion out of Mark Martin since we started televising here in 2004 than we've ever seen before, because he wanted so badly to get in this chase for the Nextel Cup because he realized that his time is wearing out. He's only going to have 2 more years to win the NASCAR Nextel Cup. And yesterday in the press conference, as you talked about, he and Jack, they've been together, what, 18 years or something?
1988.
Yeah, a long time. So.
And of course, earlier this week, Terry Labonte announcing that he will run 20 races over the next 2 seasons and wind down his very successful Nextel Cup Series career with Hendrick Motorsports.
Mark said yesterday that he would have said that Jack was a second father to him, but he told him that he was not that old. He could be another brother, and that's what Jack said.
Terry
Labonte, second brother.
Terry Labonte going to run a number 44 car for Hendrick Motorsports next year. There's Jack Roush. Jack pretty choked up in trying to introduce Mark and unveil what their plans were to the press and the rest of the world yesterday.
So much so that he read his words, his speech. And Jack always comes off the cuff, but he read those yesterday because he realized it was going to be very difficult talking about that.
So let's talk about where Mark stands in this championship, BP. He is 5th, 150 points down, 6 races to go.
Well, he's probably got to have some trouble from Kurt Busch. What is he? He's 130 or so down from Junior. I don't know that he can make that. He might have to have some trouble from Junior. But Dillon Jr. in the 8 car, the Bud car, and Kurt Busch, they haven't had any trouble. And law of averages tell you sooner or later they're going to.
Tell you where I think some of this is at is some of these guys also have to jump up and win a race or 2 and put some pressure on some of those other guys.
All right, the 12 car's back on the racetrack. Marty, find anything out?
Yeah, BP, they fixed the problem. It was a bad carburetor. They had something wrong inside the carburetor. John Payne changed it. The new one's just fine, but it cost them 15 minutes here in the garage area trying to diagnose the problem. Then once they found it, it was an easy fix. They fixed it. Ryan's back out and running fast. Dave?
24 car, Jeff Gordon, Marty, want to update on him. He took a 6-lap run to begin with, brought the car right in, saying over the radio that the entry of the corner was fine, but the car was a little bit loose on exit. I double-checked that with crew chief Robbie Lewis. They changed the sway bar, right rear shock, and right front spring. Jeff went out for just another short 6-lap run, and he said the entry was getting better, but the middle was still loose, especially when he stepped on the gas. So they put a spring rubber in the left rear, made some other front-end geometry adjustments, and they're going to try it again. 16 of Greg Biffle guys has been out as well. They wanted to make 3 distinct runs in this final practice session. He's on the second of those runs right now. After the first run, they changed the front sway bar. After this run, they want to change the rear shock, and then they want to change the left side track bar and adjust on that. The car had been loose for him. They're trying to see which one of these changes will work and how they affect the car will work best on the car. Stewart just coming back out of the garage right now. The crew had wanted him to go out and make a long run. He had reported that the car was a little bit loose from the center off. They changed 2 rear springs on the last run. That was a shorter run for Tony. They just made some more changes that, unfortunately, I was not able to observe because I was talking about those other cars. I'll give you an update on that in a minute, guys.
All right, we see that Tony Stewart has put 4 new tires on the car to go out and see what the car is going to do when the race starts tomorrow.
I think we should take a break here and give Dave a chance to catch his breath, don't you?
Good idea.
Back to Charlotte after this on Speed. All new episodes of The Simpsons starting on November 7th on Fox. He's got about as much hair as you do, BP.
Yeah, I saw that little twig on top about like mine.
Rusty Wallace second fastest in Nextel Cup Series final practice here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte. Rusty looking for what would be his 3rd win at this racetrack. He'll come from 14th starting spot.
See, about 9,400 RPMs on the 2 car going down the backstretch.
Another driver who was previously announced his plans to make 2005 his last year. Kind of seeing a generational turn lining up here. Dave, you catch your breath a little bit? You got some more for us?
Yeah, finally figured out what they did on the 20. I actually talked to crew chief Greg Zipadelli momentarily while he went up to the top of his hauler again to watch the 20 car. They didn't change any componentry on the car this time, just a little wedge and air pressure adjustment. Still just a little bit loose for Tony. They've made their long runs. They want to see if this change helps out the car immediately. And plus they put on those 4 fresh tires, as you noted.
What was that word you just used?
Yeah, what was that?
You know, I'm going to stop using more than 2-syllable words on you guys. Componentry.
Componentry?
Componentry.
That's
I looked it up so you wouldn't have to.
Oh, good. That's no word.
If I look it up, I'm not going to find it in the dictionary. That's the problem. So Tony Stewart out 5th fastest right now. 29 laps of practice in the books. What a drive for Ricky Rudd at Kansas City last Sunday.
Man, it was terrific. Had a great 2nd place finish, and then he's got to come to Lowe's Motor Speedway and start 41st.
Yeah.
You're supposed to sit on the pole or at least be in the first 2 rows the next week. Not the case.
Gave Mr. Nemechek all he could handle last Sunday in the final laps at Kansas City. Actually made a save of the day first.
Yeah, Scott Riggs, he thought he was clear of the 10 car, and he got caught in the right rear and almost turned up in front of the field. But there's a checkered flag, and we see about a half a car length off the 0-1 car of Nemechek.
Got under Joe, just couldn't get around him, and wound up finishing 2nd. But still, amazingly, only the 2nd top 10 finish of this season for Ricky Rudd and the Wood Brothers team. But a lot of optimism around that camp, and since the addition of Michael McSwain as their crew chief, really starting to come around. Here's Matt Kenseth, former Charlotte winner.
He's back on track now. He's starting 36th.
Yeah.
He's going to have a good race tomorrow night. You know, Kenseth in the 17 car the last 3 or 4 races has qualified well and has not run well in the races. And he talked about it yesterday. He said, you know, when I qualify well, I don't run well. When I qualify poorly, I seem to run okay. And he's back starting 36. So all is right in the world. Right, Marty?
That's exactly right, BP. And Robbie Reiser told me the car's not too bad right now. They've been working on getting it tighter on the throttle. Matt's been a little bit loose when he hits the throttle. And he thought they were off in the first practice, but then he noticed everybody else was changing tires, and they were not. Very fast on old tires for the 17 car. So we get a long green flag run tomorrow that will really benefit Matt Kenseth.
Matt Kenseth 7th in the championship, 180 points behind leader Kurt Busch.
He got his first NASCAR Nextel Cup victory here, didn't he?
Yes, he did. 600, May of 2000.
You know, Junior won the All-Star race, and then a week later, this guy comes back and wins the 600-mile event.
Held off Bobby Labonte to do it.
How about that?
Did a little spectacular burnout, first in the grass, then on the pavement, and jumped out of the car on the front stretch and greeted the fans, and very memorable night.
And that's when you can get on top of the car.
Yeah, before that was banished.
Yes.
Garage is a busy place in happy hour. Hey, see, I'm not the only one with a cast on.
See another crip in there, did we?
I saw a little crewman running around with an arm in a sling. It might have been Tom Holmes from the 2 car. We'll have to check that out. Next out, Cup Series final practice. Matt Kenseth heading in for a tune-up. Still under the green flag, but Dave Blaney has slowed and is coasting around the inside of the racetrack.
We monitored his radio, and I heard him say it's got oil pressure, so he must have felt like it's something. Here's coming off turn 4. He's got a big wiggle off the corner, and then as he gets off the corner, he slows dramatically. Well, it's like something might have. He felt like something happened to the engine, I guess.
Something bugged him. We'll
sure did.
Follow up in a minute. Dave Blaney back to the garage in the 99 car. Marty?
Well, and the problem with not having a car on the racetrack since January is going to have some bugs to work out. That's the case for Jamie McMurray. They have been in here for an extremely long time on after their first run. The car is tight, coil binding the left front spring. They had a baseline setup they were fairly comfortable with in the primary car, which they did wreck, as we talked about earlier, but it just doesn't seem to work in the backup cars. They're trying to work around that now just to get this car to go. Jamie, not very happy right now. Dave?
Marty, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon has been in here for quite a few minutes now. In fact, Jeff got out of the car, took off his helmet, and had a long session with Robbie Lewis. It was such a long time that I asked the crew, are you done? And they said no. They've been making some wholesale changes on the car now, and Jeff's going to get back in. So I haven't been able to get any more information than that, but it's been they've been all over the car, changing a lot of things on this 24 car.
Well, Dave, if you remember, in the Coca-Cola 600 back here in May, Jeff Gordon ran 30th. And I mean ran 30th. No crash, no behind the wall. I mean, they just ran awful.
No 7 cylinders 30th, but
yeah. I mean, he used the word, he got out of the car and said, I'm embarrassed at how we ran. And so they have been determined to come back here this weekend and overcome that. And obviously it's not working out the way they want.
Here's another guy that you just pointed out during the break a little bit ago that is struggling trying to find some speed. In this session, Bobby Labonte is 41st fastest.
Now here's a guy, BP, that in the last 10 races at Charlotte has earned the most points, the most top 5 finishes, the most top 10 finishes, the most races led. But boy, they are struggling here this weekend.
Yes, they are.
Bobby having run, this is just now his 19th lap of practice. Some other guys have run as many as 40.
I remember when Jamie McMurray drove that 40 car here in the fall race a couple of years ago and won the race and beat Bobby Labonte. What a terrific race that was.
Yeah, Bobby gave him all he could handle. Speaking of McMurray, back out in that backup 42 car. So McMurray will have to give up 24th starting spot and go to the rear of the field. Talk about that great win that he had here a couple of years ago, BP. What a night.
There he goes, takes the checkered flag over Bobby Labonte. You know, that I was so impressed with that young man because you just knew that he was only in his 2nd or 3rd race, and there's his dad, Jim.
That was the point where he really hadn't done a lot in the NASCAR Busch Series, and Chip Ganassi plucks this kid and says, you're going to be one of my drivers next year, and everybody's saying, wonder what he saw in him. Well,
we found out, didn't we?
2 races in, he's in victory lane.
And then he turned it on in the Busch Series and won a couple of races.
Big.
Yeah.
At the end of that season, yeah. Pretty good final practice going for Bobby Hamilton Jr. in Cal Wells 32 car.
9th best so far.
Yeah. Going to start 11th on Saturday night. Pretty good grid position there.
Whatever we did right there made it free right there in the center on the gas, so everyone else go.
Heard him say that Bobby and his wife Stephanie are proud parents for a little baby girl.
Been waiting on that for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Gordon, The Childress cars all carrying commemorative paint schemes this weekend, marking the 35th anniversary of the formation of Richard Childress Racing. Remember when Dale Earnhardt came out in the Winston, the All-Star race one year with the silver car? That's what this one is supposed to commemorate.
And all the cars commemorate Dale Earnhardt in the 3 car. We saw the 29 car with a Wrangler paint job.
And there it is.
There it is.
The colors that Childress won his first championship with Earnhardt in 1986. Dave?
This will be the lesser of changes made on the 29 for this session. The crew tells me he's pretty good right now. Last time they went down on air pressure in the left sides and in the right front just to see what that would do. And apparently it was pretty good. They made a spring change as well on the right front, softened it up just a little bit. But they're going to put 4 more tires on now. And according to the crew, car's pretty good right now. And it looks good. Marty?
Dave Dale Earnhardt Jr. just a little bit tight right now. This is the car he drove last week at Kansas. They kind of had it in the back of their mind that if the car ran well, that they would bring it here to the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And it ran so well last week, Junior said, in the race car, we've got to take this car next week to the Charlotte race. And they're very happy with it. Just a little bit tight. BP, they're trying something a little different. A new intake manifold in this practice session for more torque. Trying to see if it helps that car out a little bit more off the corners. Junior said, I like the other one better.
Yeah, torque is horsepower at low end at around 6,000 to 7,000 RPM rather than up at 9,000 RPM. Talked about the Childress cars. There's another Dale Earnhardt. Remember when he ran the white number 3?
I'm going to disagree with you just for a second because I think this one is supposed to commemorate Richard Childress's first win.
Really?
And he got that with Ricky Rudd.
Oh, it was?
1983 in Riverside, California.
Oh, I remember Earnhardt running a white car. I thought that was it. Okay. In the Piedmont car.
Yes, exactly. When they got that first win. So there you go.
Piedmont Airlines.
Of course, the AOL livery on the side of it now for Jeff Burton as he practices, looking to improve from his 35th starting spot in tomorrow night's race. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte, live coverage of Nextel Cup Series final practice on speed, and back on track is the championship leader, Kurt Busch.
When I first saw the car coming down pit road, I thought it was a backup because I felt like the right side had been bruised up enough, but Irwin is clearly playing. The 97 is playing, and Dave Burns says this is the original car, right, Dave?
This is the original car. The crew went to work on it to buff it out as much as they could. They've just given Kurt his first